Every meeting, I like to tell about our numbers that we have with the opioid epidemic. This month, we had 6 deaths. We had 5 suicides. That number has went down, and I want to commend the Sheriff's Department. They had a big bust, which stopped the supply for it now. So I'll keep you informed on all that. Suicides are up, though. Before we get started, I want to call on Vice Chair Pettis-Reed to approve the minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I have read through those minutes. I didn't find anything of any problem, so I'll make the motion that we approve them as written.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Got a second, Commissioner Cush. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Moving on. Next on the agenda is to confirm 4 Agriculture Advisory Board vacancies. The 4 positions must be filled by 1 farmwoman, 1 farmer, and 2 county commissioners. Gentlemen, we have 2 county commissioners and 1 farmer. We do not have a NAP for farmwoman. Those 3 are Larry Jernigan, Joe Gurley, and Shanto Sereno. So do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved. Second by Commissioner McIndoe. We'll vote on these 3. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on. We have 1 vacancy for CCRC Board, term to expire December of 2024. We have 2 applicants. We have Kay Jernigan and Mike Curtis. So I think both of them are here. Would y'all like to say something? Mike Curtis, I'm sorry, Ms. Jernigan, would you like to come up, introduce yourself?
My name is Kay Jernigan. I've been on the Community Care Board now for over 12 years. I think we've made several great improvements, and we are working more on several more improvements to the center, and I would greatly appreciate your vote to continue improving that facility and taking care of the residents and the staff out there. My grandmother was a member out there, and I would like to continue to make sure everyone that is there has the is well taken care of, just as she was. And I appreciate your vote.
Thank you, Mr. Jernigan. Mr. Curtis?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Mike Curtis, as I think most people here know. Lived in Rutherford County since 1982, and during that time period, I have served as an EMT and as a assistant fire chief in one of the volunteer fire departments in Rutherford County. My whole life has been serving the citizens of Rutherford County, and some of our most vulnerable citizens reside at Community Care of Rutherford County, and they need people to help make sure that they get taken care of, and also the staff that takes care of them gets taken care of. In the past year, with all the COVID issues and whatnot, I have participated in 2 different events out at Community Care to help boost the morale for the residents out there in the form of drive-by parades. I have organized members of the local Jeep Club to come out there and decorate their Jeeps and drive by the citizens of the facility and give them a smile on their face. I have also helped their staff in the big snow and ice storm of February by helping to transport some of the staff to and from home during that time period. So I've already been active with the facility and would like to do it in a more official capacity going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Curtis. All right, gentlemen, we had 2 applicants, Kay Jernigan and Mike Curtis. We're voting on 1. Rachel?
Mr. Chairman, you and I both kind of new, and you probably know more than I do. Can we move these both on to the commission, or do we have to vote on 1 tonight?
No, we vote on 1 tonight with the steering recommendation, and the other one is will be able to go to the county commission if they're appointed, if they are nominated by another commissioner. But the steering committee is voting on one tonight.
So in the past, if I recall, we have sent 2 or 3 people to the full commission. Am I incorrect in that?
If there's a motion to send both of these to the full commission, then we'd be able to do that. But you'd have to make a motion, and it had to be second, and had to be voted on.
I'll make that motion and send both these on to the full commission.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second? Seeing none, motion fails. Gentlemen, we're voting on one. Rachel, go ahead and make the call.
Commissioner McAdoo? Commissioner Stevens?
Jernigan.
Commissioner Cush?
Jernigan.
Commissioner Johnson?
Jernigan.
Commissioner Rather?
Jernigan.
Commissioner Reed?
Curtis?
Chairman Harris?
Curtis.
Jernigan.
Ms. Jernigan, you've been recommended by the steering committee. You will be voted on in the next meeting, which is a week from this coming Thursday. Mr. Curtis, like I explained to Commissioner Rather, if appointed, if nominated by a commissioner, you will be brought up before the floor. Moving on. We have confirmed one vacancy for the PBA term to expire January of 2026. Gentlemen, we have a situation here that I need to give you before you vote. Scott Abernathy and Ross Bradley will not be up for recommendation. They got their applications in late, so they are not considered in this nomination. We have three people, which would be John Cunningham, Paul Cripps, and Scott Grabby. So we're Paul Cripps here. Would you like to come up, sir, and introduce yourself? Is Scott Grabby here? John Cunningham here. All right, come on up, Mr. Cripps.
My name is Paul Cripps. I've been a member of here in Rutherford County for over 20 years. After I got out of the military, came back to Rutherford County. I've been serving in the construction industry since I got out of the service and returned in 1999. I've been in several different aspects of the construction industry, all the way from a worker on the front lines up now to senior management. I've worked in the woodworking industry, the steel industry. I've worked with glass and several different types of materials and different trades. I've also worked with a couple of different contractors in a construction manager position. Currently working as a senior project manager, project exec for a $100 million a year company right now, and have currently $33 million in projects that I'm managing. So very familiar with codes, things of that nature in the construction industry. Also being able to have a strong aspect in being able to manage budgets and time constraints. That's all.
Thank you, sir. All right, gentlemen, we have three people. Names again are Paul Cripps, Scott Grabby, John Cunningham. We're voting for one. Go ahead, Rachel.
Commissioner Rather?
Paul Cripps.
Commissioner Johnson?
Mr. Cripps.
Commissioner Stevens?
Cripps.
Commissioner Reed,
Cunningham.
Commissioner McAdoo, Commissioner Cush,
excuse me, I will vote for Cripps, but I want to put an asterisk by that to make sure that his current company that he is employed with does not create a conflict of interest, as the PBA works with many general contractors and specialty contractors. I don't want that to be a conflict of interest.
and Commissioner Chairman Harris.
Mr. Cush, I'll try to answer that question for you. Are you, like, if we have a contract or bid come up and his company is in for that, okay, he would have to recuse himself from that, and he wouldn't vote. Understand that, Mr. Cripps?
Yes, sir. I did read the information about that, and would make sure that if there ever was a conflict of interest, I would recuse myself.
Okay. Cripps. All right, Mr. Cripps, you have the recommendation of the steering committee. We meet a week from this coming Thursday for you to be voted on. Congratulations. Moving on, we have 2 Correctional Work Center board vacancies, 2-year term to start January 1st of each year. We have 4 applicants. I'm sorry, we got 3. Francis Mosby, Larry Jernigan, Robert Asbury. Ms. Mosby and Mr. Robert Asbury are reapplying. I'm going to start off. Ms. Mosby, are you here? You'd like to come up and introduce yourself?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Frances Mosby, and a lot of people didn't know me, but they knew my husband, Johnny Mosby. He was a cop for 44 years, and he was on the board for several years, and after he passed 13 years ago, I was asked to be on the board, and I've been on there ever since. I enjoy working with everyone, and it's just a great facility just to be there, to see how they work together, and they're doing just a great job, and I would like to be reappointed. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mosby. Mr. Jernigan here. Mr. Asbury here. You like to come up? Thank you.
I'm Bob Asbury, and some of you all might not know me, and some of you might have forgotten me by now, but I've been fortunate that I got to work for Rutherford County for 32 years at the Sheriff's Department. I retired in 2010 after working in law enforcement and the corrections part. So since then I went to work for the federal courthouses in Nashville, but now I'm officially retired from everything except for the workhouse board. So I enjoy working with that crew out there. They do an excellent job. They're very progressive, and I think they are put a good light on Rutherford County. So I appreciate being appointed for 2 more years. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the committee, by virtue of my position as county mayor, I serve as chairman of the Correctional Workhouse Center, and both of these 2 board members are greatly appreciated for all that they do, and their passion is working with our administrator out there, Mr. Cope, who is here, and they do a great job. So I'm just saying they're 2 great people to vote for. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have 3 applicants. We need 2 positions. So we're voting on 2 out of the 3. The 3 are Robert Asbury, Larry Jernigan, and Francis Mosby. Go ahead, Rachel.
Commissioner Stevens,
Asbury and Mosby.
Commissioner Cush,
Asbury, Mosby.
Commissioner Johnson,
Asbury and Mosby.
Commissioner Reed,
Asbury, Mosby.
Commissioner Rather,
Asbury, Mosby.
Commissioner McAdoo, Chairman Harris,
Asbury and Mosby.
Barry and Mosby.
Congratulations. As I told everybody else, the meeting is a week from this Thursday to be confirmed. Moving on. On your iPads, gentlemen, is our 2022 holidays that we need to vote on. And I'm going to start with the first one. Y'all be able to see this, so you already, I don't have to go over it all. But I want to go ahead and put in your calendars that the meeting on steering committee meeting that was scheduled for 1/3, it is a holiday for the state, so therefore we're moving it to the 10th. Do I have a motion to accept these this holiday list? Commissioner Cush, do I have a second? Commissioner Reed? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Move on. All right, next on the agenda is a resolution. Next on the agenda, I'm going to skip over litigation lists and go straight to the resolution. Authorizing Rutherford County to join the state of Tennessee and other local governments as participants in the Tennessee State Subdivision Opioid Abatement Agreement and approving the related settlement agreements. Just to give you a little idea on this, when I became a county commissioner, one of the things that I did is I met with the mayor and we met with council for us, and I wanted to pursue this as a matter of a not a class action suit with the Tennessee government, because they tell us what to do, and we don't get to spend the monies the way we want to. So that's one of the reasons that we did that. I think this is, I can't tell you how happy and proud I am that we got to this point. And I believe it's going to be somewhere around $500,000 for 18 years. So that is a lot of things. Being somebody who is dealing with the opioid epidemic at this moment, that's a lot of money that can help us in a lot of areas. And we don't have to be told how to do it. This resolution, gentlemen, is lengthy. I have to read it, and I apologize. But I'm going to read this, and then I'm going to ask for a motion. Whereas the opioid epidemic continues to impact communities in the United States, the state of Tennessee, and Rutherford County, Tennessee, whereas Rutherford County has suffered harm and will continue to suffer harm as a result of the opioid epidemic, and whereas the state of Tennessee and some Tennessee local governments have filed lawsuits against opioid manufacturers, distributors, and retailers, including many federal lawsuits by Tennessee counties and cities that are pending in the litigation. National Prescription Opioid Litigation, MDL number 2804. This case will be referred to as opioid litigation. And whereas certain pharmaceutical distributors and a manufacturer have proposed settlements that Rutherford County find acceptable and in best interest of the community. Whereas the Tennessee Legislative enact Public Chapter number 491 during the 2021 regular session of the 112th Tennessee General Assembly and was signed into law by Governor Bill Lee on May 24, 2021, which addresses the allocation of funds from certain proposed opioid litigation settlements. Whereas the state of Tennessee non-litigating counties and representatives of various local governments involved in the opioid litigation have proposed a unified plan for the allocation and use of certain prospective settlement and bankruptcy funds from opioid-related litigation. The Tennessee State Subdivision Opioid Abatement Agreement, attached hereto, sets forth a framework of a unified plan for the proposed allocation and use of the funds. Whereas participation in the settlements in Tennessee plan by a large majority of Tennessee cities and counties will materially increase the amount of settlement funds that Tennessee will receive from pending proposed opioid settlements. Therefore, be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners as follows. That Rutherford County finds that participation in the Tennessee plan is in the best interest of Rutherford County and its citizens because such a plan will ensure an effective structure for the commitment of settlement funds to abate and seek to resolve the opioid epidemic. The Rutherford County hereby expresses its support for a unified plan for all allocation and use of settlement funds as generally described in the Tennessee plan. That the Rutherford County Mayor is hereby expressly authorized to execute the Tennessee plan in substantially the form attached as Exhibit A, and the County Mayor is hereby authorized to execute any formal agreements necessary to implement a unified plan for allocation and use of settlement funds that is substantially consistent with the Tennessee plan in this resolution. Section 4, that the Rutherford County Mayor is hereby expressly authorized to execute any formal agreements and related documents evidencing Rutherford County's agreement to the settlement of claims in litigation specifically related to America Source Bergen Corporation, Cardinal Health Incorporation, McKeeson Corporation, Jennison Pharmaceuticals, and Johnson & Johnson. Section 5, that the Rutherford County Mayor is authorized to take each other action as necessary and appropriate to effectuate Rutherford County's participation in the Tennessee plan and these settlements. The resolution is effected upon adoption, the welfare of Rutherford County, Tennessee requiring it resolved this day of 2021. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion, Commissioner Johnson. Do I have a second? Second, Commissioner Reed. You'll have to go and roll on this.
Mr. Chairman,
Hold on.
point of information, there, in my iPad, there is a cover sheet for Exhibit A, but there is no body to Exhibit A.
It should be on there. Should be, it's on mine.
Okay.
You see it at the
No.
top?
No.
Is everybody else have
maybe
it?
maybe it's a different tab. I'm sorry. I just assumed it was after the cover sheet. Yeah, okay. It's on a different tab. Yeah, okay.
Okay. Go ahead, Rachel.
I also had a couple of questions
Okay, hold on. Go ahead, Commissioner Stevens.
about this. The $500,000 a year, is that before or after the attorney fees are taken out?
Attorney fees are already, that's the settlement. Commissioners, County Attorney. Commissioner Stevens has a question. The amount that we were awarded, which is 500 and something thousand, I don't have the exact number in front of me. Is that pre-attorney fees or post?
That would be a question for the lawyers that are actually representing Rutherford County in this specific litigation. I believe that individual was here at your last commission meeting. Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure if he's going to be here at the next commission meeting, but I'm happy to ask that lawyer, and I can report back to you, Commissioner, and also Commissioner Stevens or whoever with that answer.
Okay. Commissioner Stevens, to my understanding, but I don't want to tell you, and I'll let the mayor talk. To my understanding, it was post attorney fees. Most class action lawsuits, the attorney fees get their part of the thing, and then it's awarded in judgment.
That was my inclination, but I just wanted to be sure of that. And then also, are there other defendants that are not joining this settlement?
As far as counties in Tennessee?
Defendants, like the pharmaceutical companies that we sued.
No, these are the only ones that we're dealing with right now. However, there is other litigation going on as well. So we have not, this is not the final thing.
So we're
This is
settling
just
with these.
defendants.
We're settling with these only, but we still have our case against the other ones also.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
I just wanted to be sure that this didn't drop all of our claims in total for everybody.
Yep. Go ahead, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the first settlement. That's my understanding. Going back to the first question, it's my understanding it's also, as the chairman said, it's post. But there are other pharmaceutical companies that we should get additional funds from that is separate from the ones that are listed here in this resolution.
Section 4, Commissioner Stevens, it says specifically related to AmerisourceBergen Corporation, Cardinal Health, McKesson Corporation, Jennison Pharmaceuticals, and Johnson & Johnson.
And I believe one of the other lawsuits is to be paid out over a 9-year period as opposed to an 18-year period.
So what I like to see, this being the privilege of being a chairman, to say that we need to organize a board to oversee these funds and to apply these funds as necessary for the Rutherford County.
Well, I think it's such a big issue, Mr. Chairman, that would be wise to do that and let that oversight board make sure that the money went towards this crisis that's in our community and not let it just be spent somewhere else or go into the general fund or something. If you recall, back when the tobacco settlement was made, states did the same thing. They got the money in and it never went to any type of what little bit was spent on tobacco cessation. You know, you could have poured it out in a thimble, if everybody knows what that is. Nobody sews anymore, but you know, it could be used for that. But if it's going to be, if you go into a lawsuit and you win it, it should be spent on that because it is a crisis, just like tobacco was an issue as well, instead of it being gobbled up and spent in some other form or fashion.
Well, I mean, all you commissioners know how I feel about this. Y'all have known this since the day I walked in office, and this is, I want to tell you how this is a big, huge step for Rutherford County. It's not what we, you know, of course, you know, in my opinion, as much misery as they had caused, this is a drop in the bucket. But this is something, and this is something that we'll use and continue our fight. And I think they'll put Rutherford County as one of the leaders in trying to combat this. And I thank all y'all supported me too, and I know I'm getting on a soapbox here, but you guys know how important it is to me and how much important this is. And it's something that, and me and Nick is talking about it, me and the mayor is talking about it. It's just, you know, it's a start. We have a long ways to go, but this is a big step for us, and this is something we can't drop the ball on. Moving on. Any questions? Okay, we got to vote.
Commissioner Reed,
Yes.
Commissioner Cush,
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Rather,
Yes.
Commissioner McAdoo, Chairman Harris.
Yes. Moving on. Gentlemen, on your iPads, you have a list of litigation list. Do I have any questions on this? County Attorney, can you tell us how many current litigation lawsuits we have in Rutherford County at this moment?
Let me pull this up real quick, Commissioner. So the list as presented has 15, 23, approximately 22 or 23, but I'd like to point out that many of those have current pending motions to dismiss or motions for summary judgment, meaning that we believe that the facts as developed in discovery are such that it should not go to a trial and that the county should be successful in the lawsuit. The way that COVID has delayed things, courts are very slow naturally, but even more so with the COVID to rule on those motions. So again, the list does show 22 to 23, but many of those have got pending motions by us that we're hopefully going to be successful on.
Thank you. Is there any questions? Okay, moving on. Next on our agenda is to confirm appointment of Bishop Wagner to the Central Tennessee Solid Waste Planning Board. I have not had the opportunity to speak to Mr. Wagner. Is he here?
Yes.
Mr. Wagner, I'd like you, if you don't mind, come up and introduce yourself. Mr. Mayor, go ahead.
Yeah, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman, let me go ahead and introduce him. Come on up, Bishop. So I think it was last week before, you've been on board for a week, 2 weeks. I told him he's going to be drinking from the fire hose, but come on around to the front so you can face the members. Mr. Bishop Wagner, when Mr. Nolan stepped down, we went through the interview process. There were 4 of us in the meeting. Chairman was there of the respective committee, our HR director and deputy mayor and myself. And out of all the applicants, it was unanimous that we choose and make my recommendation Mr. Bishop Wagner. Mr. Wagner comes to us. He's a resident of Rutherford County. He is a graduate of MTSU, got his master's degree in geology, whatever.
Environmental geosystems.
Environmental geosystems. That sounds better than just the geology class I took out there. So. Yeah, I just looked at rocks. But he has worked for TDEC, and basically he's been to every landfill across the state. He knows the rules and regulations of solid waste, and he has hit the ground running. So by virtue of him being in that position and Mr. Nolan leaving, now Mr. Nolan did say he'd like to stay on in that capacity representing Rutherford County since he still lives here on our Solid Waste Authority. But I felt like that we needed somebody here that we could talk to on a daily basis, so it's my recommendation to this committee that he be appointed to fulfill that position that Mr. Nolan has represented us on.
Is there anything you could possibly add to that?
Just, well, thank
just
you,
turn
Mayor.
around and talk to them. He can see you up here.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mayor, and Mr. Chair, and distinguished members of the committee. It is my honor to be here and to serve the citizens of Rutherford County. Thank you for this opportunity. My goal, as it was said in my degree, environmentalism is first and foremost. It is my intention to work with the board in levitating the regional activities in terms of recycling, diversion, proper waste management, so that we can have a wonderful county to live in for generations to come.
Thank you, sir. Are you, Commissioner Cush is our chairman, who's our able-going
Engineer.
leader.
Or
And I'm sure
industry,
he's told about
industry.
I have a question, and I know this should be in Public Works, and I apologize, Commissioner. We have had some blowouts at the landfill. You're aware of that, I understand. Do you have a plan to help us alleviate these problems?
Absolutely. I've been working with our engineering consultant firm currently. Actually, I have a meeting with them on Thursday to discuss options, the immediate mitigation activities that we're undergoing according to the pump and treat activities that are happening. I'm fully aware of them. We're on the ground with it. I've got a couple recommendations that I've brought to the mayor's office that I'm looking to maybe bringing to committee in the future, bring to the commissioners, and we'll see what our options are going to be going forward. But I think that we can get out of this mess pretty rapidly.
Well, if you can do that, sir, you have my full body support.
Thank you.
I promise you. Gentlemen, we have voting on a recommendation on the appointment of Mr. Wagner to the Central Tennessee Solid Waste Planning Board. Do I have a motion? Motion by Chairman Cush. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Johnson. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Congratulations, sir. Look forward to working with you. On our agenda, we had talked on this in last meeting about having a human resource report on our agenda each meeting. I left that off, and it will be on from now on. So getting to that, I want to go, is there any other business? Okay, then I want to bring Sonia up, and she put something on your desk, and I want her to explain this report and exactly what she's going to be reporting to us each month.
Good evening. So not knowing exactly what you would want to hear, I tried to compile some information that may be useful. So if there's ever anything that you want me to add or take away or bring additional information, I'll be happy to. On this is the snapshot. I try to keep up with the activities of the office, the big activities. Where it says ADA, that's where either employees of the county or citizens of the county have requested an accommodation in order to be able to utilize our services and our programs within the county, or if it's an employee, if it's something that they need an accommodation or a modification to complete their work. Those are requests that I've complied with. Additionally, if someone is in a court setting and are hearing impaired, I do get the interpreters for those situations as well. Administrative tax would be things like completing purchase order request, any bill paying, special task. It's not the answering the phones or greeting customers. These are the things that are more precise in what they're actually doing. So it's going to be more task like ordering supplies, those type things. The audits, we conduct audits in our office annually on several different things. We do I-9 audits. We conduct personnel file audits to do a comparison to make sure that we have everything in the file. We'll do audits on our board members to make sure we have everything in compliance with that. So we look through to make sure that if we were ever audited by the state or the federal government, that we are doing our best to make sure that we're in compliance with all the programs that are required. Where it talks about benefits, this is where I would have meetings with employees who are wanting to discuss their possibly pension benefits. It's also if we have any special promotions that are being offered to our employees for special events, those would be the type of activities involved in that. Community involvement, those are activities that either the office does or that we create for community involvement. Our office works with, in the past, we have worked with the Career Center. COVID has slowed that down somewhat, but we used to go out and assist if they were going to have a job fair and assist reviewing resumes and helping people build their resume or application, do mock interviews. We do mock interviews at any of the schools that request us. We currently go out in several of the school systems to do those type things. Job fairs, Chamber of Commerce, we work with the CVB, Warriors, Workforce, with the veterans. So there's lots of programs that we try to do in HR to make sure that the county is involved from an HR perspective in order to bring more people to the county. There's other events, leave. The leave is anybody who has requested FMLA, personal leave, COVID leave, and if you see one of the numbers that's really high, that 563 in January or year-to-date, excuse me, that's the year-to-date column. We had higher numbers during December and January because of the COVID leave. That took some additional people out, but it's also for FMLA, any of the federally protected leaves. And that requires that we follow their guidelines, and that's multiple step processes and mailing and those type things. Legal would be anything that's in compliance. So if we had a request for any legal information or confirmation, those are things that we would comply with on that. Offboarding and onboarding is for the employees, and you can see that we onboarded, our total year-to-date is 2,446 employees. So that tells you that our turnover is a little high because our onboarding is higher. With our total population of 1,700 full-time and part-time, we have actually turned over more than our total population in some of our positions. Another item that's where it's talking about records, our office does the records, open records request for the county as the records coordinator. Those records requests come into the office and we send those out to the departments, gather the information, redact those records, and then provide to the requester. So far this year, we've had 49,767 records requests up through November. Recruitment, we've received, reviewed, and recommended or sent forth 7,705 applications to our departments. Reports and surveys, we complete a lot of reports that the state asks for, such as new hire reporting or EEO reports. EEO-1 census reports, all kinds of surveys. The salary surveys, we have participated in 8 to 10 of those, and as you can see, we've had 3,164 different reports or surveys that we participated in this year. Testing would be our drug testing, our background checks, our MMPIs. We've done 324 of those, and we've trained on various topics and subjects, 3,480 employees. Are there any questions about that? Is that any information? Is that too much information? I don't know exactly what you would like to have, but it's just giving you a ballpark number year-to-date and by the month as well.
I just have a couple questions. How many job openings do we have at this moment?
Currently, right now, vacancies, we have, at the sheriff's office, we have 52 vacancies. For our detention facilities, there's 31, and for the patrol, the certified division, there's 25. And I will tell you, we get in separations and new hires on a daily basis all throughout the day. And so sometimes if you'll look in that, well, I didn't put this on there, but I have a column. The date that they're going to be leaving us is the date that I counted. So some of these people aren't leaving right now, but they've already put in their intent, so we've already posted their position and are actively looking for a replacement for them.
So you have 52 at the sheriff. How many do we have with the county?
So at the county, we've got 2, 4, 6. 32.
32, so it's 85? Okay. Is there anything that this committee can do to help you to alleviate some of this problem? Because that's a lot of job openings.
We have, my team and I have sat down and we have looked at various ways that we could, we have been participating in job fairs. We went to a chamber job fair and we stayed out there all day. We got 3 applicants after sitting out there all day. And Heather did an excellent job as far as engaging the people that were there, trying to make sure that we were actively participating. We post some of our jobs with the Career Center, so like our custodial staff, our maintenance techs, any of those type jobs that we have, our detention officers, we post those with the Career Center. But our job postings, when we do a job posting, it goes out not only on our website, on Channel 19, it goes on Indeed, it goes on lots of career boards. We post high-level jobs or jobs that are hard to fill on our LinkedIn. The HR has a LinkedIn site. We post on that as well. We have worked with the Department of Labor's military group for any individuals who are not going to be continuing their active duty that live in Tennessee. We are actively or who are interested in relocating to Tennessee. We try to get them the applications to make sure that they participate. The only other job fairs that we do not participate in are the ones that cost money, and it's because they're usually asking for $2,000 or $3,000 for us to come and sit all day. And for example, the one at the Chamber of Commerce, because the county does provide benefits to them, they let us come and set up as a donation in kind of sorts. And we got 3 applicants, but for everybody, who would have paid for that. So we haven't started requesting money to go to paid job fairs at this point. We also, there's a program called Handshake with local colleges, and that's where we can post jobs with colleges like MTSU or anybody that participates in Handshake, especially when we have our unique jobs like the engineering positions, veterinarians, those type things, we'll post on Handshake as well. So I am very open to suggestions. Michael Gregory and I have spoken about his positions at Paul's. He has several. We came to the Budget Committee and full commission about some of his positions, trying to make some changes to encourage people to stay. So I am wide open for any additional ideas.
Gentlemen, this committee oversees human resource. So as leaders, if we have any ideas or any ways that we can help them, please let us know. I definitely will be working on this. Commissioner Stevens?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The number that's eye-popping to me on here is the number of records requests. That's over 4,000 a month, and that's like 200 per working day. How did the HR department become the records coordinator for that?
So I don't know exactly what year, maybe 2018-ish, 19-ish. I can look that up and get that back to you. But several years ago, the state of Tennessee Open Records Council put out a notice to every county municipality in the state and said, you have to have a records coordinator in your location who will the records will come into. Now, any of our constitutional officers do not have to participate in that, so our register of deeds, our property assessor, if anything's related to the courts programs, the circuit court clerk, they all send personnel related stuff to us, the property assessor and register of deeds, but if it's specific to their office, like the county clerk, if it's something about, you know, marriage licenses or whatever, she will address that, and same for the property assessors, but if it's employees related. But to answer your question, the way it came about when, at that point in time, it was Mayor Burgess, so it's been at least 3 or 4 years, sat down with Josh McQuarrie, who was the attorney at that time, the county attorney at that time, and said, here's what the state is requiring us to do. And it actually came before this body, the steering committee, to put me in that position. So they had talked about doing it through the Records Commission, the Records Council, and potentially Heather Dawbarn's office, but the issue is there was so much confidential information that would be coming through related to employees, insurance information, medical information, just something that could be potentially a lawsuit, EEOC, any of those type things, that was so sensitive in nature that it was deemed that the records needed to be out of HR so that it would be more secure in the information that other people would have access to. So.
And I vaguely do remember us doing that. I just didn't remember how long it was, but I do remember we had to vote on a new policy that named someone. Is your office really the best place for all those requests to be coming in? That seems like a lot of responsibility that's more of a clerical thing. I just was trying to decide in my mind if we should look at moving that somewhere else and having your office assist with the ones that are about employees and medical things, et cetera.
So they only want one records coordinator, and so if you move that, that would potentially put all those records that are confidential based for our employees into a different department's hands. So I understand what you're saying, but I feel like for the safety of the employees' information, I'm just very protective of what, to make sure that nothing gets out that shouldn't be for our employees. I will say that the Sheriff's Office has helped us out tremendously. So a lot of the records come in through the Warrants and Records Office at the Sheriff's Office. They get quite a few of those too, and they have 2 or 3 individuals. I don't know that I would say 50% of these are probably from the Sheriff's Office, but they gather the records and redact them and take care of them. They had an officer of professional responsibility, Matt Goney, who recently or will be, I think he's already left the Sheriff's Office, will be. He and Jennifer Lance, who is the lieutenant of the Warrants and Records Division, go through all of their stuff. And so everything that comes from them is already redacted and, ready to release. And in some cases, if it's less than 10 pages, they release and provide me all the information for our database. So we have a database of every, the records that go out. So I'm not personally handling these. I do review any that relates to an employee. If it's about an employee, I want it to come off my desk. I do have Lindsay in my office trained, and also I have another employee who is doing all the clerical. My administrative person is doing all the clerical stuff that's coming in from the other departments. So I think we're okay at this point, but if you have any other questions.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question. I don't know if you know this. I'm putting you on the spot. What is the current unemployment rate of Rutherford County? If you don't have that, I understand.
the last I checked, I don't check it that frequently, it's somewhere in the 4.3% range.
It's like 3.1 before COVID, and it's about 4.3.
4.3, I think, is current.
which is very good. And we
Makes
have
it-
84 job openings.
Makes it hard to hire.
Yeah. Is there any other questions for Ms. Stevenson? Go ahead, Commissioner Rather.
I'm not sure this is for Sonia. I think the mayor can answer this. When I look at leave, there's quite a few on there, and I understand the FMLA and all that, but you mentioned COVID related. So we get some state, federal money, or have gotten it. There's more coming in for that. So when you've got employees out, then everybody else in the office has to step up. Is that causing overtime?
In some cases, for some departments it does, and others they're picking up the additional work, or they're bringing in a part-time person who wouldn't be in an overtime rate, because many departments do have a part-time person or two that can help pick up those additional duties.
So I'm just wondering, you know, we've got all these variants coming in, and quite honestly, I don't know what to believe and what not to believe anymore. Not as far as you go, as far as TV and the news. If there is additional money that we could get out of the federal government for COVID related, could that not be part of that? I guess classify that as essential work, because we got people out because of COVID. I don't know how to word that, but hopefully you know what I'm talking about.
So the leaves, I understand what you're saying about the money, but that's not going to change the fact that somebody has to be out for open heart surgery or for cancer or having a baby or any of those number of things. And I may be misunderstanding your question.
All right, I guess where I'm getting to, under leave, it would be interesting to me to, even if it's not on the report, if I could just call you and ask you every month, how many of those are COVID related? Because if half those are COVID related, if an employee's out, there's cost to the county. There's still the cost. And the cost actually goes up. You're still, in some or most or all cases, paying the employee, but you're paying people overtime, or they're having to double their workload, which could actually make somebody get up and walk out because they're working too hard. I mean, that's the facts. You know, we can have job fairs and all that, which we should do. But the fact is, people are going to come here because of quality of life, money, and benefits. Money and benefits are a big number one issue with employees and employers. So I guess I'm going around the circle to get to, if we've got half of this number, if we got 500 people out a year because of COVID, and I'm assuming COVID is not going to, I think it's gotten better, but there's a new variant every week, seems like. Assuming that's not going to get better, we got 500 employees out a year, and others, it's costing us overtime, we're overburdening the current employees. Can we not lump that into the federal dollars if there's more federal money that's potentially coming in the future? And that's kind of what I want to ask the mayor. Do you anticipate that there could be more based on the new variants? It's a coin toss, I know, but.
Yeah, there's all kind of grants that are still continuing to come out of Washington. We got another grant we're looking at for water extension lines, $40 million, supposed to be split with cities and the county. We've got another $25 million coming to help people who are in need of food. We're going to take a look at that in the next week or so. But I think what the commission did this past month was they stepped up and used some of that COVID money and gave everybody that was full-time a $2,000 net premium pay. I think it was the correct wording on that, and $1,000 for those part-time people because they did have to step up for those who were out with COVID. I'm not sure what the future will bring as far as additional funds, but I think you saw the effort of this commission that were sympathetic to those during this past year to at least award them for coming in and working hard during the extraordinary time that we've never in our lifetime dealt with this COVID strain.
Yeah, we did exactly what should be done. Let's take care of employees. I've said that from day one. Greatest asset we have. I would be interested in knowing how much of the leave under that category is COVID related. Are we having 2 or 200? I don't know how to address that other than it's costing the county. So there are certain things we can spend that money on that we're restricted from spending that on whatever we want to, right?
That is correct.
Yeah.
That the federal dollars had a restriction of anything over 150% of the going labor rate.
So if we were restricted by this certain list of items that we could have used that money for, if you got 200 or 300 employees out every year because of COVID, could we not put that go beyond a restricted category? Because it's costing us for them to be out because of COVID. Could we not spend those dollars there, basically in the general fund?
Are you asking if we can take, and I'm trying to follow you because I understand that there is a cost associated with an employee's out on leave. I get that, and somebody's going to have to backfill. Are you asking with grant dollars, if they became available, that we offset? You're saying general fund, just saying, okay, this is what this employee would have earned had they been at work, and putting that strictly into the general fund? Is that what you're asking?
I don't know if it goes in general fund. I'm saying if we have federal dollars we're restricted from spending, except based on what they say we can spend it on, but yet we have employees that are out because of COVID that's costing us money. I don't know how to put a dollar amount on that, but could we not, in your words, kind of offset the cost with those dollars because those employees are out because of COVID? It is costing more money. Have employees out.
Well,
I've had employees for years, and when they're out, it creates a burden on everybody else in the company.
Sure. We are limited on what the American Rescue Plan says we can spend it on, and spending it on employees for COVID-related expenses is allowable, which we did week before last. And I think everybody's already received that amount of money. Going forward, it's up to this commission. If you want to take money out of the general fund and pay them because they're out, you could do whatever you want to do. It takes 11 out of 21. Now, if then you're going to get into debate about, okay, how many people had the flu last year? I mean, people had allergies and were out, and then put that burden back in.
Let me clarify. I was talking about the cost to the county.
Okay. Well, yeah, I get
You're
that.
paying overtime when you've got people doing twice the work.
So,
I wasn't talking about paying people for being out of COVID. I think we've already addressed that.
well, but, so I'm confused. Are you asking to spend money from American Rescue Plan for overtime?
In the future, I think we've already addressed the current dollars.
I'm not.
I'm just
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know
I'm
what the
wondering.
future will bring, and I don't know what the restrictions. They move
don't
the
either.
goalpost on us every time they send something out, and then after we do get it, they move the goalpost. So I don't know.
I don't
Commissioner.
either. I'm just throwing it out there
Yes,
that
sir.
when you got employees out, there's a cost to the county.
Oh, I totally agree.
And so if there's future money, I'm just asking, is that possible? We don't have crystal balls, I get that. We don't
Yeah.
know what's coming.
Anything's possible.
The
Yes, sir.
Lord come back tomorrow and this whole discussion's over with, but I'm just wondering, and so my thoughts, but I would like to know, out of those leave numbers, how many are COVID-related? I think that'd be interesting, and like I said, if you don't want to put it on here, that's great. I know that you've already got this done, but if I call you, let me know there was 50 last month, or 2, or none, or whatever. I take up the time and I'll shut up.
Any other questions? Thank you, Sonia. Is
Thank you.
there any other business? Seeing none, we are adjourned.